We're going to begin this hour with breaking news on the war with Iran, just hours ahead of President Trump's deadline to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. So there have been new strikes on Iran this morning, and the reports that the U.S. had hit Karg Island, a key export point for Iranian oil.
Now, this comes as we learn new details about the rescue of 2 U.S. airmen in Iran. Their F-15 fighter jet was shot down Friday. The pilot was rescued within hours. U.S. commandos found the second service member 2 days later in a complex 8-hour mission. On Monday, President Trump and national security officials described how the operation unfolded.
So in a breathtaking show of skill and precision, lethality and force, America's military descended on the area, the real area, engaged the enemy, rescued the stranded officer, destroyed all threats, and exited Iranian territory while taking no casualties of any kind.
Joining us now is General David Goldfein, a retired 4-star general and former chief of staff of the U.S. Air Force. In 1999, his own plane was shot down while on a mission over Serbia. General Goldfein, good to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Gayle, Nora, thanks so much for having me.
You know, General, I just keep thinking you're a former member of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, how complex and dangerous this mission was. What would have happened if this pilot had fallen into enemy hands?
Well, it's impossible to say. I will tell you that, as like most Americans, I was checking my feed about every 15 minutes, right? And when we got the news that we had captured, we had gotten dude 4-4 Alpha and Bravo back, I mean, what an incredible blessing. One of the things that I will tell you, having known General Dan Kane for most of our careers together, very often the chairman of the Joint Chiefs is the ultimate team builder. And he builds trust and confidence across the interagency. So when these kinds of complex missions come together, the team is formed, they've walked through all the contingencies. And I think when we look back on some of the military successes that we've enjoyed, whether you want to talk about the Midnight Fury or the Venezuela operation or this successful rescue, I think we're going to look back and really appreciate the fact that we had a humble, approachable, credible leader in our chairman.
Well, General, when you think about this operation in particular, 155 aircraft, 4 bombers, 64 fighters, 48 refueling tankers, 13 rescue aircraft, the hundreds of special operation troops. You heard the president himself. There could have been hundreds dead just to rescue 1 airman. How did they carry this out so successfully?
Well, it was my honor to be the Air and Space Component Commander in Central Command, and every time we looked at a mission, we would start running out of letters in the alphabet when we started talking about contingencies. I don't remember if it was the secretary or the chairman that talked about, you look at 2 adversaries. One, the enemy gets a vote. What could the enemy do? And the second is, what are all the what ifs that you go through in the operation? What's plan A, plan B, plan C? What happens if you can't get the airplanes off the ground because the sand is wet? You go through all of those planning contingencies, and it's very clear to me watching this, and so many similarities to my rescue that took place, that this was an incredibly well-planned and perfectly executed operation.
How do you even begin to train and prepare for something like this? And I'm wondering what your mindset was like when you were in this position and you were shot down. But how do you even begin to prepare and train for this? I'm in awe.
It's an incredible part about our military, how well trained we are. And it's a funny thing. I went through survival, evasion, resistance, escape training in 1979 in the mountains near the Air Force Academy. Well, I was shot down in 1999. But it's a funny thing, you get this training and you get the checklists and you compartmentalize and park them for when they're needed. And then the moment you pull that ejection handle, it all comes back to you. And you know exactly what to do. And the confidence that you're giving by our culture as Americans of not leaving anyone behind, of knowing that the nation is not going to sleep until you get home safely to your family, gives you a lot of confidence as you then go through all the steps. And as the downed airman, behind enemy lines, surrounded by the enemy, with the sun about to come up, a lot of your focus, at least my focus, and I'm sure is the same for Dude 44 Alpha and Bravo, was how do I ensure that I don't goof up my part and put anybody at risk in this mission so I can get safely home?
I just think, General, about this pilot evading capture for 46 hours and then, of course, scaling this rugged terrain with essentially a gun and a tracking beacon. We're told that the pilot and the weapons systems officer are recovering well. Do you have a message for them this morning?
Well, it's welcome home and well done. I think that the president, the secretary, and the chairman all talked about the tenacity, the courage, the commitment, the endurance of these two airmen. But I will tell you also, it's about the rescue team. And that rescue team was more than the soldiers, sailor, airmen, and Marines that were there on the ground and in the air in Iran. It's also about the interagency that the chairman pulled together to pull this off in such a brilliant fashion. I sit here today as a proud father, grandfather of 5 brilliant grandchildren. I'm sitting here today talking to you for only one reason, and that is because of the courage of those who risked everything to get me out. And I will forever be indebted to them, as I'm sure that the Dude 44 Alpha and Bravo are going to be indebted as well.
Well, we feel the same way, General. David Goldfein, thank you so much for joining us.